Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. Today we're talking about meetings. Everybody hates them because they often end up being time wasters, but they really do serve a purpose. And today I want to talk about how to make them super efficient so that they work better for you. Today's quote is from Bill Gates. You have a meeting to make a decision, not to decide on the question. I found so many great quotes whenever I was looking for a quote for today's session. And it's not a shock to see that most people don't like them. A lot of them are obviously quite negative, but I really like this one because it actually says what I say. Meetings are about getting things done, not about trying to figure out what needs to be done. And, strategy sessions aside, that is something that's completely different. And so I just want to talk about work meetings today. So that's what we are going to cover. Let's go. Meetings are very useful, but so many people don't use them properly. They take up too much time, they aren't run properly, and they don't achieve anything. These are the most common complaints about meetings whenever you are polling people about why they don't like them. And yet, I tell you to schedule meetings with your VA clients all the time. So why am I telling you now that meetings aren't that great? It's because a lot of people don't run them well. And that really is the basic problem with meetings. So let's talk about how to make your meetings work. First off, I call them production meetings because what we cover in them with our clients is about what's going to get done. And so the word production indicates that there's a purpose to the meeting. They are productive. Secondly, these are scheduled meetings. Regularly scheduled meetings. Always, always. When we're working with clients, the more time we have to work, the better it is for everybody. Time is money, right? So it's important not to stop what you're doing to take a meeting. You set up your calendar in your meeting, your scheduled meeting, and you work the rest of your time around that. I used to have a weekly production meeting once a week with my clients, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how I ran those later in the episode. But we would typically meet once face to face or on Zoom, sometimes by phone call, always on Mondays when possible at the beginning of our week. And then the rest of the week we would communicate by email and through our project management system. It was very effective even for my busiest clients. First of all, when your clients know that you will have a meeting with them once a week, they can plan for it. They put something on the agenda. They pull the work that they're doing, the question that they have, sometimes they know that's where they can ask it. And although, yes, sometimes you do need subsequent meetings, or I would say a second meeting. I don't think anybody needs a lot of them. If you do let the client book endless meetings, you're just allowing them to form a really bad habit. Not every email or question needs to be a meeting, and nipping that in the bud is something that is a really, really important thing to do to preserve your efficiency. And third, these are brief meetings. The biggest complaint about meetings is that they take too much time and get too little done. So you're trying to avoid that at all costs. When you're organized and when there is a purpose, setting a time of 15 minutes or 20 minutes is the best way to go. These meetings are to make decisions, not go over every single detail of your work together. And even with my busiest clients, I worked with 6 and 7 figure business coaches. We kept meetings to 30 minutes or less every week. Everybody appreciates that, and everybody buys in to the fact that it's an important meeting because it's effective. So how to run a meeting so that it works better. Here are a few of my best tips. I think I have 5 here for you. Number 1 is take charge. Do not let your clients run your meetings. There, I said it. Clients are not the ones who are tracking your time or working within their own budget. They're not the ones who are the administrative expert of the relationship between the two of you. That's you. So you need to take charge of the meetings. You set the date and time and the time limit, and you invite the client to the meeting. When you're the one who calls and runs the meeting, you can control the flow and the outcomes. I mean, after all, the meeting is for you to get clarity on what the client needs done. Number 2, set an agenda. Be sure you know exactly what you're going to cover in your meeting. Create an agenda and stick to it. For my clients, I used to have an agenda set depending on what services I provided for them. For example, my 6 and 7 figure business coaches, the agenda went something like this. Number one, money. We always started with money because without money, we have no business. We would talk about, I would give a high level overview on each of these things. What's coming in, what's in arrears, what's happening with anything. If somebody was in collections or if somebody had a failed payment, we want the client to know about all of these things. But we don't need to go client by client to talk about money. We just talk about the important stuff on these calls. Number two, clients, client issues, client updates, that kind of thing. We have new clients, what their status is, how things are going. But again, mainly just an overview. And so it's not about going through the details of each individual person. It's about covering that topic and having it on the agenda every single week because we know that we can cover the things that we need to talk about there. Number three, ongoing projects. A quick status update on what's outstanding for things like blog posts or event setups, anything like that, whatever information I needed to be able to move forward with something. And for the ongoing projects, that was typically a weekly newsletter, weekly blog post, social media, client care stuff, customer service, all that type of thing. But it's very easy to summarize those things and certainly bring attention to, things that the client needs to follow up on, or if they have to provide you with pieces for something as well. Number four was upcoming projects. This was like longer term stuff that we were working on that was in process. What's coming up? How close are we getting on something? Are we working with a website person and what's their schedule like? So always covering those things as well. And then number five is new stuff. What happened last week that's going to result in new work this week or down the road. Those were the five things that we covered every single week for my business coaches. And like I say, they were very busy people. They appreciated the fact that we had a 30-minute meeting in some cases. Most of the time it was 20. And they always knew that they were going to get an update on how things were going. Now, did that mean that we didn't communicate about those things through the rest of the week? Absolutely not. We had a lot of communication because some of them were very busy. But the meetings got to be just that, the 30 minutes. And so everything else we handled through our production or our project management system. The key to the weekly production meeting is to give the high level overview, as I said, of what's going on. Details are what goes into your project management system. And certainly you're not trying to rush the client. You're just trying to be efficient with this meeting. And in 20 minutes, you can cover an awful lot of stuff. With that agenda, there were specific topics we would talk about, and both of us knew what to bring to the call, and then we covered it all, and we still stayed within our booked time. It was very, very efficient. Now, with my other clients, maybe they didn't need the same type of agenda, but we made their agenda specific to them as well. What do we need to talk about? I offered a lot of customer service and marketing tasks. And so that was, those were the things that went onto the agenda. But it's still really important to cover that. And of course, the less busy the client was, I had some clients who were 5 and 10 hour clients per month. And sometimes we only talked bi-weekly because that was all we needed. If we didn't need to talk, it was not necessary to get on the phone every week or for 15 minutes. Number three, keep it on time. Another complaint about meetings is that they often run over time. Because you have taken charge of the meeting, though, you are the one who gets to keep it on time. And so that means making sure that you can direct and redirect the conversation that is taking place. Everybody's time is valuable, and it's really important to stay on task. Use your agenda and make sure that if something goes down a rabbit hole, you save it by saying something as simple as, okay, I'll get that info and circle back with more information. You're not going to be doing research on your call. You're not going to screen share on your call unless the client needs to see something to approve and you need to nail them down to do that. That's the only time I would suggest a screen share. It just takes too much time and it's not necessary every single time. If a decision can't be made on a production call because there's more research or more work to be done, it's considered an open item and it goes on the schedule to be worked on in the coming week and added back to the agenda the following week. Keeping a meeting on time also means starting on time. So if you're attending a meeting, always show up 5 minutes early or on time, not 5 minutes late. And don't extend a meeting that you're hosting if your client shows up late. Implore them to show up on time or simply reschedule the call. If you find that your clients are not needing the weekly meeting or they are consistently missing it, you want to find a better day and time for them and be able to keep that as a regular appointment in their schedule. Number 4, leave with action items. The purpose of a meeting is to make decisions, as Bill Gates tells us. And so that means when a decision has been made, then it's time to take action on it. And there's always something that needs to be done after that to take that decision and turn it into, a completed task. So summarize the action items for the items discussed and then keep them up to date in your project management system. That's what it's for. Take notes during each meeting as well. Again, we're the admin people. And so according to your agenda, keep those notes and provide those back to the client so you both agree on what was discussed and decided at that meeting. You don't have to send a transcript. You just need to send a brief summary of what they discussed and then follow up with whatever is necessary. I used to send these little summaries to my client afterward, one of my clients afterward, and she didn't like them at all. She said, I know what I need to do. I don't need to see a summary of what we talked about. But most people do. So she was a bit of an anomaly, I think, and that was okay too. And again, if something requires more research or discussion or anything, add it on as an open item for the next meeting and circle back to it on the next production call. And finally, number 5 is follow up. If there are open items from your meeting, be sure to follow up with them. Enter them into those project management system as a project or task to be completed and keep the client up to date on the progress until completion. Calling them next steps on your agenda is something that I find really helpful because then everybody just knows it's not an action item. It's what do we do next? And we're always looking to move forward. And so next is an excellent word, I find. A little trick I learned also is to schedule your meetings for 20 minutes and book 30 into your own calendar. If you end your meeting on time and take the next 10 minutes to process the action items and information from that meeting and write up that little summary, you can close everything out, bill the client 30 minutes, and be organized for your week to come. I shared that tip with a VA this week, and she thought it was a game changer in terms of, because lots of times what we do, we're running from task to task. And so we take our notes and we write them all down, and then we are moving on to something else. As soon as the meeting is over, we put the notes aside and we decide to process them another time. Whereas if you take the 30 minutes, do the 20-minute meeting and allot yourself those 10 minutes to clean up from that meeting, you're complete, you're done, and you're really, really organized. If you haven't run meetings like this in the past, I know you can do it. It might take a little bit of practice in the beginning, so you can start with a 30-minute meeting if that helps, but always try to do better and get them as efficient as possible. And here's why. If I'm just going to do a little math for you. If you have 5 clients and each of them needs 2 hours of meetings a week, like we're not talking production calls, you're letting your clients talk to you for 30 minutes at a time, or worse, some VAs let the client stay on the phone with them for 2 hours and lose their whole day. It's absolutely brutal. That takes 10 working hours out of your schedule every single week. And not to mention that now the client is getting billed for 8 hours worth of meetings every month instead of 8 hours of work getting done. So by keeping your meetings to 15 minutes and making them work for both of you, the client only gets billed 1 hour a month for meetings and a whole lot more work gets done. Why? Because you have the time to do it. So to me, that's a win-win. Doing meetings more efficiently can buy you back all kinds of time, but it also vastly increases your productivity. It builds good habits for you and definitely improves your communication with clients. It asserts your expertise because you're the one who's in charge of the meetings. Working efficiently is something we can work together on in the Virtual Circle, my mastermind group for virtual assistants. Check it out at yourvamentor.com/TVC. The Virtual Circle. I bet it's exactly what you need to start working more efficiently. If you need some help with your time management practices, habits, or productivity, absolutely reach out to me at tracy@yourvamentor.com. I've helped hundreds of VAs through their challenges and got them on their way to the next thing through private coaching or group coaching. I'd love to do the same thing for you. That's all I've got for you this week. Did you notice I kept this episode under 15 minutes? I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.